a spectacular day, probably the best day of the year so far, weather-wise, as the Indians wrap up this 4-game series against the Toronto Blue Jays here at Progressive Field. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. Tribe looking for a split in this 4-game series. To do that, they're going to have to score some runs, but they're going to have to pitch well. This is a Toronto club that is just pounding the baseball. Look, they lead the American League in runs. They're averaging almost 5.5 per game, and that's bad news because when the Indians allow 3 or more, they've lost 14 out of 16.
And the one thing about the Toronto offense, 1 through 6, if you make a mistake, they haven't missed any balls. They can hit them hard, and if they don't hit them out of the park, they certainly hit them into the gaps. At least they have in this series. This is the team that very dangerous. They can score 5-6 runs in a heartbeat, and they have done that many times this year. You can see they lead the league in doubles with 53, 86 extra base hits, 6 games. They've had 10 or more runs. That's half of their wins. So they have a very dangerous offense, and they've been very aggressive against the Indians as well.
Trevor Bauer will get the call today for the Tribe, coming off his last performance in which admittedly he was far less than 100%, but he kept the Indians in the game and gave them a chance to win.
He certainly did. He went out there. His fastball was about 89 miles an hour, but he moved it around. He changed speeds. He had a good changeup. And, you know, Trevor has always had good off-speed pitches. The one thing I like Trevor Bauer against this team, and it's his first start against the Toronto Blue Jays, when he gets to 2 strikes on hitters are hitting just 1 for 44 against him. So I would expect Toronto will be aggressive as well in this ball game. He'll be matched up against Drew Hutchison, and he is 2-0 this year and a very high ERA at 6.67, but it doesn't have to be low when they score a lot of runs like they do.
No question about that. Well, the Indians are 1-1 so far in the month of May, hoping to close out this homestand on a high note, as Trevor Bauer will take the ball for the Tribe and try to tame these very dangerous Toronto bats. The Blue Jays, they haven't been able to slow down Michael Brantley. Maybe he can deliver today for the Tribe. All I know is we're ready to roll next. Indians. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk, proud sponsors of the Cleveland Indians. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. All right, a beautiful day here in downtown Cleveland. Indians and the Blue Jays ready to wrap up this 4-game series. And this is an Indians ball club really desperate for a win. They need a victory more for their own self-confidence than anything else. They're 8-15. They've lost 7 out of their last 10, 7.5 games out of first in the AL Central. The Blue Jays a game under 500. Last place in the East, but only 3.5 games out of the top spot in that division. Pitching matchup today is Trevor Bauer. You see him there in the Indians dugout. He'll be going up against Drew Hutchison. Hutchison will be facing an Indians lineup that has Jason Kipnis in the top spot, Michael Bourne batting ninth. Let's go downstairs to Andre Knott. This has been a pretty good combination for Terry Francona in the interim, hasn't it?
It really has, Matt. A week ago we were in Detroit, and it was time for a change. And I remember Michael Bourne saying, look, I haven't been playing well. I deserve to go to the bottom of the lineup. I want to get back up there. Well, I'll tell you, it's only a week to tell you this, but with Kipnis in the number 1 spot and with Bourne in the 9th spot so far, the lineup is hitting .295. They're averaging 5.6 runs per game, and they have a .273 average with runners in scoring position. It's a small sample size, but it's a great moment for Terry Francona to realize the offense can play better, and it's clicked. It's really clicked when Bourne has been able to hit out of 5 out of these last 6 games to help turn over the lineup where Kipnis has been able to drive runs in. Hopefully today, against a guy like Hutchinson who's given up some runs, this offense can get going, and they can try to win back-to-back games when we start in Kansas City on Tuesday.
All right, thanks a lot, Andre. And Michael Bourne back in the lineup today. He missed last night's game. You know, he had that violent slide into home plate, smashed his head into the ground, and a little neck strain kept him out of there, but he's back in today and batting out of the 9th spot in the Indians' order. So hopefully that does bode well for the Tribe as they try to win today and earn a split in this 4-game series. Our window systems, game time temperature. Let's see what the winning number is. 72 degrees.
The winning number.
Just absolutely gorgeous. And not much of a breeze at all. Well, 5 miles an hour coming in from left field, but really nothing that should affect the ball game in any way here today. Rick, let's take a look at the keys to the game. They're brought to you by Wayside Furniture. And for Cleveland, for Trevor Bauer, locate. And for the offense, top of the order in front of Brantley. Get some traffic on for the big guy.
And also to add to that Bauer point, hopefully he's going to be at full strength. He was a little weak in his last start. His fastball was, 88, 89 miles an hour?
Yeah.
You know, he went 6 innings. But they need a good performance from him today to neutralize this powerful Toronto lineup. And he's going to take them on, and let's see what he has this afternoon.
Bauer heads out as the Indians take the field. And we'll take a look at the Blue Jays starting lineup presented by Toyota under manager John Gibbons. Devin Travis in the leadoff spot, followed by Josh Donaldson, and it's Jose Bautista. Edwin Encarnacion, Russell Martin, Kevin Pillar, they're in the middle third. 3 left-hand hitters in the bottom, Michael Saunders, Ryan Goins, and Ezekiel Carrera.
And today's Northern Ohio Honda starting pitcher is Trevor Bauer. Trevor's 2-0 on the year, could very easily be 4-0. He's pitched at least 6 innings in every start. We mentioned in that start against Kansas City, he said he wasn't feeling up to par, but he still gave him 6 innings, gave up 7 hits and 3 runs. He got a no decision in that game. This will be his very first start against the Toronto Blue Jays. So we'll see what Trevor has to offer this year. At home, he is 1-0. He is making his 3rd start in this ballpark, and let's hope it's a good one. Let's check out the defense brought to you by Chrysler. In the outfield will be Brantley in left. Bourne is in center, Moss in right. Chisenhall at third, Ramirez at short. Kipnis is at second, Santana at first, Hayes doing the catching.
John Tumpane behind the plate. Crew chief John Hirschbeck at first. Bill Welke at second. James Hoy down at third. Well, one of the things that has plagued the Indians, Rick, is first inning runs.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice to be able to. This is a ball club that, as we know, has played well when they score first. They're 5-2. Unfortunately, they've also played 16 games in which the opposition has scored first, and they're only 3-13 in those.
Well, and you wonder why they're 3-8 at home is because they've been outscored in the first inning here 11-3 in this ballpark. So before they even come into the dugout, a lot of times they're down.
Playing from behind.
Yeah.
It is tough, no doubt about it. And the opposition has scored first in 8 straight games. So this isn't a once in a while, every other day. It's happening a lot. And, hey, it's not always the first inning, but it can be a little deflating, I would think, if all of a sudden, as you say, before you even get a chance to get a bat in your hand, you're looking up and you're already behind.
That's a tough start when you're at home. What they have to do is try and put a 1-2-3 inning. Just try and score first here, especially at home.
We're ready to go as Devin Travis steps in. Batting .325, 6 homers, 19 batted in so far this year. And Bauer's first pitch a little bit high, ball 1, but you see that velocity on the fastball back up to where we're used to seeing it, 92 miles an hour. At the knees, a strike called. Travis, his 19 runs batted in, tied for 4th most in the American League. Also among the league leaders with the 6 home runs. There are a glut of hitters that have all hit 6 home runs. 7 altogether. Travis, Mike Trout, Josh Donaldson, J.D. Martinez, Luis Valbuena. A-Rod also among the notables with 6 home runs in the American League. Now the 2-2. In the air to right field. Moss makes the catch, 1 away. Going to bring up Josh Donaldson. Donaldson, terrific start to the year, batting .316. And like Travis, he's got 6 home runs, 18 driven in. Hard hit ground ball to short. Scooped up by Ramirez. And he'll throw him out, 2 down. And that's going to bring up the DH, Jose Bautista. In a big game yesterday in the Blue Jay win.
Yeah, it took him a couple at-bats to get going. He struck out in his first 2 at-bats before he drove in 2 in the 5th and also 2 in the 6th.
Breaking ball down low. Our Levin player profile featuring Jose Bautista. He's played with Baltimore, Tampa Bay, Kansas City, and Pittsburgh, in addition to Toronto. But that ball's hit high in the air. Deep left field. Brantley over onto the track, makes the catch. And it's a 1-2-3 first inning for Trevor Bauer. The Indians are coming to bat. Right, the Indians coming to bat here in the bottom of the first. Tribe starting lineup brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Jason Kipnis in the top spot, adding 368. On base percentage is 368 in that leadoff spot. Then it's Jose Ramirez, followed by Michael Brantley, Santana, Moss, and Murphy, Chisenhall, Hayes, and Bourne. Jason Kipnis stands in. Takes a strike.
Drew Hutchison, the right-handers, 2-0. And again, when he toes the rubber, they are not afraid to score. He gets the second most run support in the league, trailing only Mark Burley. Today's Northern Ohio Honda starting pitcher for the Jays is Drew Hutchison, 667, 30 hits in 27 innings. Actually, the right-handers are hitting better against him than the left-handers are. Right-handers hitting 421, lefties just 194 because he sinks it and he pitches inside with a good slider to the left-handers. This is his sixth start. He's made 3 starts where he did not even pitch 5 innings. He has 3 starts of under 5.
In dirt, full count. We saw Kipnis able to work the count. He was very patient yesterday. First 2 times up, he drew walks, came around to score both times.
Yeah, those walks. See a lot of pitches up there. When you get a lot of at-bats, you can get locked in that leadoff spot.
Fouled right back. He was on it.
So far this year, the first time through the lineup for Hutchison, hitters hitting just 128. Second time through, it goes to 333, and he's making his first start against the Indians in his career.
Looks like a fastball to the outside corner, and it's fouled away.
Kipnis yesterday saw a total of 25 pitches in the ball game.
That 3-2 smack foul again.
I don't care how it turns out. It's a good at-bat, working him. Fouled it off. It'll be his 9th pitch in this at-bat. Not a bad way to go where your teammates can see what he's featuring.
Ground ball to second. Devin Travis makes the play, 1 down.
Take a look at the Jays defense, which is brought to you by Chrysler. In the outfield from left to right, it'll be Saunders, Pilar, and Carrera. On the infield, third to first, Donaldson, Goins, Travis, Encarnacion. Martin, he's back in there. Fooled me. I thought he might get a day off today. He's a gamer. Back behind the plate.
He's definitely been beaten up a little bit. Ramirez fouling it back. He's taking foul tips on various parts of the body and also off the fingertips.
Well, and then balls in the dirt. He's been blocking, Tommy tells me, 36 balls in the dirt that have been, he's got to knock down or put a body in front of. He's been all over that catcher's area.
12 a game through the first 3 then.
Yeah.
Out of play. Ramirez 1 out of 5 in the series. Oh, there's another one that caught him flush.
Well, it's only the first inning. He's got to look forward to at least another 11.
Is this on the forearm, the wrist? Where did this get him?
Well, you'll take a look. It's that breaking ball. Yeah, it got him on the forearm, the left forearm, and he's got to come up and hit next inning. He'll be hitting second in the inning.
Now the 2-2. Just kind of threw the bat at it. Saunders has it. 2 down.
When you talk about run support, look at the top two guys in the American League. Burley was the other day, except the Indians scored a lot off Burley. But Hutchison's right behind him. He gets over 11 runs a ball game. But, you know, there's no wonder because in 6 of their 12 wins, they've scored 10 or more runs.
Yeah.
So that's pitching on the right day. We can't show that stat to Kluber.
Michael Brantley pops it out of play. Blue Jays have scored 137 runs. That's number one. The Indians have scored 92, and they're ranked 10th. That is a wide disparity in runs scored. Now, the Blue Jays have played one more game, but still. The 0-1. Missed in off the plate.
That's what makes him so effective right there. That pitch into Brantley. He made a good first pitch into him. He's not afraid to pitch in. It runs in, and he's got the two-seamer going away, and that was the pitch that Ramirez sort of just threw his bat at. They're going to stay inside to Brantley. That's a pretty good formula.
That one leaked a little bit, but not enough for Brantley to do anything with it.
No, but you know, the only team, or the only time I witnessed where teams pounded Brantley in last year when we made the West Coast trip. If you remember, we went to play the Giants and then the Angels. And, you know, he struggled on that road trip. But you don't see teams really pound him inside a lot, and every pitch so far in his at-bat has been in there.
That's a fair ball and a diving stop by Encarnacion. Here's the flip, and Hutchison's there to grab it. Terrific defensive effort by Edwin Encarnacion. Brantley smoked it right over the bag and almost had himself extra bases if not for a great stop. Indians retired in order. No score after one. Well, Encarnacion made a terrific diving stop.
Brantley got that ball out of the kitchen. It was going right down the line for a double. He stops it, kept it in the area where he was able to reach for it. A nice backhanded flip, and I got to say, Hutchison got over there and timed it beautifully. Keep the foot on the bag, so it's a very good play.
Nice touch for a big man.
Good touch for a big man. That's Buddy Black's old line when you're playing golf.
Encarnacion, 4 homers, 13 RBIs, takes low. 2-0. Chopped towards third. Chisenhall stays with it. Good feed, one away. Stat of the game brought to you by Buick. And for Trevor Bauer, he ranks 6th in the American League in ERA. Dallas Keuchel of Houston leads the way, 0.73 so far. And the 174 opponent batting average, he's third best. Guess who leads in that category? Dallas Keuchel with a 130 average against him.
He's really off to a very nice start. Underrated.
To center field, Bourne is there. 2 quick outs. Kevin Pillar will make his way to home plate. Pillar's had a good series and off to a great start this year. Pillar's done it both offensively and defensively in this series. He's had 4 multiple hit games in his last 6 played. 6 of his last 11 hits on this road trip have gone for extra bases.
Yeah, he's had a good series. Both sides of the baseball, offense and defense.
Six straight games he's actually had an extra base hit as he fouls this one back. Now Pillar digs in, down 0-2. In the dirt. Now the 1-2 is a hard hit ground ball to second. Kipnis throws him out. A very efficient Trevor Bauer has retired the first 6 Blue Jays to start the game. Bottom of the second inning here at Progressive Field, and we have no scores. Carlos Santana will lead off for the Tribe. Looks at a ball up high. Santana has not had a very good homestand, just 3 for 20.
Yeah, and he was hitting well in this ballpark prior to coming into the homestand. He was better at home. There you go.
Trying to beat the shift, and he will.
How about that?
First base runner of the ball game.
What's wrong with that? They were giving it to him. And, I have watched him in batting practice do this a couple times. Push it hard to get it to at least third base. And right there, it happens in the game. Perfect time. You're leading off an inning. First hit of the ball game.
Well, especially when you haven't really been swinging it all that well, too. Why not? See if it starts something here for Cleveland as Brandon Moss steps in. Moss taking a strike. Moss with a hit in 3 straight games, 4 out of his last 12 during this little mini tear, if you will. In the air to right field.
Got in on him.
Ezekiel Carrera has that one away. The injury report is brought to you by the attorneys at Elk and Elk. Nick Swisher in back-to-back games, a solo homer, scored a couple of runs. He was here in the clubhouse before the ball game as the Indians determine what his next step will be. Justin Verlander, a 3rd MRI coming this week. Just outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Murphy trying to get it rolling here. Just 1 for 11 on the homestand. And he's got a base hit in the left field. Carlos Santana will stop at second. So a couple of singles here in the second. And the Indians trying to break out on top first here today. Have it set up for Lonnie Chisenhall.
Well, he went down there with that little 2-seamer, and he let the ball track and get deep. And it was a good swing to take it the other way. Good pitch. It was off the plate, but he just waited long enough. And let those hands get through the zone. Gets it by Donaldson at third base, and they have first and second now. So that leadoff bunt has something going.
And Lonnie Chisenhall takes fastball for a strike. Nothing into the count. Lonnie has 5 hits and 19 at-bats during the homestand. A couple of runs driven in. He scored 4 times. Lonnie looking for that 2-strike hit here. And he fouls it back. Outfield plays him straight up. Infield, they've got him shaded up the middle. Glanced off the bat. It stays 0-2.
He fouled one off the knob of the bat yesterday.
Yeah, or it fouled him off.
Well, right. He didn't even move. And you see, they went way inside. That hit about the pine tar. He checks it, but gets a piece of it to stay alive.
He's trying to protect here, down 2 strikes with 2 aboard and only 1 out. Popped him straight up. The pitcher's going to have to make the play, and it's Hutchison who does. Throws back to second, and Santana, where in the world was he going?
Infield fly roll.
And he's doubled up to end the inning.
On your smartphone or tablet, you can stay connected with live radio broadcasts, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball.
Bottom third of the order for Toronto here. Michael Saunders will lead it off. And a fastball in there for strike one. Two quick strikes to Saunders. Missed outside. Fouled right back. Stays 1-2. Saunders, a $167 average so far on the year, but he's kind of in that mode where he's playing catch up.
Yes, he is. Missing spring training. And that means a lot, you know, even though you're down there for 6 weeks and they may not be playing every day, but just to get your work in and everybody else is in front of you.
Boy, close pitch, able to lay off.
You know, during this series, the Toronto hitters have been able to take some really good pitches that you think, you know, boy, you'd swing at it. They were close, but they've taken some good 2-strike pitches. And Bauer, a guy, when he gets the 2 strikes, he buries you.
Rick, take us through this last play then with Santana at second base. You get the infield fly roll.
Well, I mean, it's okay. It looked like nobody was going to catch it, but Santana doesn't know it's an infield fly roll. You see the umpire's hands up in the air. There's nowhere for him to go. So he obviously just didn't realize it. He thought he had to get to third base, and he sees it was vacated by everybody because they were trying to converge and catch the ball. But I don't know what he was thinking right there. Infield fly rule. You advance at your own risk. Batter automatically out. A brain cramp.
Ryan Goins batting .243, no homers, 4 driven in. Now it's 2 balls, no strikes, and all of a sudden Bauer's thrown 25 pitches, but 13 strikes and 12 balls.
Well, that at-bat by Saunders was pretty good to work him. Laid off some really good pitches there.
And now he's missed 3 straight to Goins, and out goes Hayes. Bauer's missed on 6 straight. As he tries to refocus here. Goins with Ezekiel Carrera on deck. These are not the guys you want to really fool around with because the meat is coming up. Wow, 4-pitch walk to the 8-hitter, and now the first 2 are aboard on walks in the 3rd. Then it will bring up the light-hitting Ezekiel Carrera.
Well, you see what they want to do early. Do they try and get Hutchison the lead early and a bunt here in a situation? I know Bauer's having a tough time throwing strikes right now.
Carrera 1 for 2 yesterday after getting the call up from AAA. He squares and takes.
I see a lot of times that's what you'll let your hitter do. Go ahead and take a strike, even though you go ahead and bunt. You want to move the runners over if you can, but it's easier for some hitters to just make sure he throws a strike. Don't help him out.
Well, he's missed with 8 straight pitches
and he's
now.
taken all the way. So Bauer's just got to, go ahead and throw a strike here. He is trying to give you an out. But you're right. He's letting the bottom part of the lineup set the table. It's rolling over to get back to the top.
Bunts it to 3rd. Chisnall goes to 1st. 1 down. Saunders to 3rd. Goins in the scoring position. Sacrifice goes 5-4.
And even with 2-0, he wasn't going to take one. He bunted it. He forced Chisenhall to make the play. It was a good bunt. So his job is done. Now you turn it over and say, let's go, boys. Travis, there you are. Ground ball up the middle will get you a run or get you the lead.
Indians will play the middle of the infield back. They are even with the bags at the corners. Travis flied to right his first time up. Called a strike. Weekly bounce to 1st. Santana's going to come home with a throw, and Hayes applies the tag. Saunders is out at the dish. 2 away.
It was a bad jump by Saunders. He hesitated. He didn't go on contact. He waited till he see who was going to catch the ball, and he just got a bad jump. But Santana did the right thing. Get it to your catcher. Let him apply the tag. This is going to be our McDonald's. I'm loving it. You see, he started and then stopped. There's no reason to stop. You either go on contact or you don't go. You make the ball go through.
I'm not sure that stutter step really cost him, though. It looked like he was going to be out anyway.
He was, but you still have to go. You can't hesitate. He would have been out. Santana, that's why you play your corners in there. But they get a big second out.
Josh Donaldson grounded to short his first time up. 2 down in the inning. Infield back. All the way around except for Santana, who holds the speedy Travis at first base. Also shows you on that bat with Travis how important it was to get strike one. Because even though it was only strike one, Travis was reaching on that second pitch, trying to get that run home, and he just kind of punched it over to first.
Yeah, just trying to put it in play and get him in. You're right.
The 1-0. You don't want these Toronto hitters to be in that comfortable, aggressive mode, because when they are
2-0-3-1 hitters counts.
They can take some vicious hacks.
They do take vicious hacks, and they could also take some very good pitches that you're making. You know what I mean?
When they're ahead in the count.
When you're ahead in the count. They don't have to swing.
We saw that yesterday against Kluber.
Yes. You see, you can go out there and throw that 2-0 breaking ball, and it could be right at the knees on the outside corner, but they don't have to swing at it because they're in the driver's seat. So now, 3-0. Donaldson, I'm sure, will get very selective. Don't know if he'll have the green light here, but when given the green light as a hitter, I mean, you've got to make your zone. You hit the pitch that you know you can hit out of the ballpark, and that's the only one you swing at.
Four-pitch walk to Donaldson to load the bases for Jose Bautista.
And it's 3 walks in the inning for Bauer.
He was a model of efficiency through the first 2 innings. But he's put himself in hot water now with Bautista coming up.
Yeah, Bautista hit one high to left field, but just got it off the end of the bat in his first AB.
Swung out and missed. See, only 16 pitches in the first 2 combined. But he can still keep the Blue Jays off the board if he retires Bautista. He was trying to hit that last pitch over the scoreboard.
Well, that was power against power, that first pitch.
High fastball, lays off 1-1. Only a .210 average for Bautista with the bases loaded in his career. 4 times he's connected for a grand slam.
Yeah, it looks like he tries to clean the cushions, you know, when he takes his swing with the bases loaded.
The 1-1. A little bit low, 2 balls and a strike.
Bauer's been very good this year with runners in scoring position. Coming into today, just 182 average.
Pop back out of play. Went right at him. And Bautista fouls it away, so it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. With 2 down and the bases loaded here in the 3rd. No score. Swing and a miss. He struck him out on the Blue Jays. Leave him loaded. Bauer's first strikeout of the game comes at just the right time. Reminder as you enjoy a cold one to stay tuned later in the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite. No score as we go to the bottom of the third. One look back at the strikeout of Jose Bautista. The bases loaded and 2 down.
Bauer got himself into trouble, but he gets himself out of trouble with a good curveball. A little reaction. That was a big out for Trevor. Walked the bases loaded, but gets out of it.
Brett Hayes going to lead off for Cleveland. Takes a strike. Hayes with a big 3-run homer on Friday night. Chopped to third base. Hayes' home run provided the final margin of victory as the Indians would beat Toronto 9-4. Tries to pull the breaking ball to third base. Donaldson throws him out, 1 away. Wrap up the draft tomorrow night inside the red zone. Jim Donovan, Doug Deacon, and Tony Grossi will give you their evaluations on the picks. It's tomorrow night at 8 on Sports Time Ohio. Michael Bourne's first at bat today. And he lines one up the middle. Flagged down by the shortstop Goins, and his throw is in time. There's where defensive shifting takes a hit away from Bourne.
I'll tell you what, I was going to say, how many times or how many teams do you see play Bourne right up the middle like that? The shortstop caught that ball on the second base side of the bag, so you're right. Their defensive alignment was right on right there. He hit that ball as hard as you could hit it for him to get a base hit, and they take it away from him.
That's going to bring up Jason Kipnis, who takes a fastball strike on the outside corner. Went back out there again, missed off speed. Down on the dirt. Fouled right back. 2-2. Two down on the inning. Base is empty. Full count.
Kipnis had, what, a 9-pitch at bat in his first AB. Back at it again. See if he fouls off a couple this time.
Bounced it foul. Well, there's one.
Yeah, keep count.
Well, he certainly doesn't seem unnerved by being in the leadoff spot. If anything, he looks more comfortable.
Yeah, it doesn't bother you. It's only a position in the order you hit. You lead off once a game, really, for the most part. That had a railing and ricocheted into the seats. You know, you hit leadoff, you go one time a game. Check where this hits, if you can see it.
Right on top of the railing.
I
he
mean,
just seems more comfortable. He just seems, not as anxious.
Well, he's not trying to do anything different. You know, his job right now is what he's doing, trying to get on base. And that's a good thing to do.
He hammers this ball. Deep right field. Back goes Carrera. He's out of room. It's out of here. Jason Kipnis with his third home run on the homestand. And the Indians strike first today. They'll play from in front, leading 1-0 here in the third.
And that's a fifth home run given up by Hutchison. But you see, he didn't do too much. He tried to come inside. He hung him a breaking ball. He did not get that pitch. I don't know if he wanted to go back. He wanted to throw it inside. Didn't get it in there. And Jason makes him pay. Put a nice short swing on it. Try plays from in front. 1-0.
Second time on this homestand that he's homered to give the Indians the lead. And now, Jose Ramirez is taking a look at a couple of balls up high. 2-0. There's another example of how a good at bat puts him in a position to hit the home run. Not that he's looking to hit a home run right there, but because he sees a lot of pitches, fouls some pitches off. He's in that comfortable state, and it just reacts, and the ball jumps out.
Well, don't forget about the first at-bat. He got a chance to see a number of pitches, and that pitch was a mistake. But he's seen so many pitches from this guy, he just put a good swing on it. You know, he's seen 18 pitches in his first two at-bats.
2-1 pitch. Well, the Indians' first 11 home runs this year were all solo shots. 8 of their last 11 came with men on base before that solo blast by Kipnis. So they've been hitting them lately with guys on base. But in this situation, you'll take the solo jack to grab the early lead. Ramirez strikes out to end the inning. Jason Kipnis puts the Tribe in front with his third dinger of the year.
tickets. You can buy lower box or lower reserve tickets. By May 4th, you'll receive a 24% discount. The offer is available only at Indians.com.
Edwin Encarnacion grounded to third his first time up. Takes a high fastball, 1-0. Broke his bat, and that's going to wind up in the seats, foul.
Yeah, but you can see the healthy cuts they take when they get to 2-0 counts. Trevor Bauer this year has been so good when he gets 2 strikes on hitters. You know, today, Toronto hitters are 0 for 3 when they get to 2 strikes in any count. He did walk 1, and that was Saunders. But on the year, they're 1 for 47 when he gets to 2 strikes.
Yeah, strike over the outside corner, full count. The payoff. Off the plate, going to be a tough play, charging hard. Chisenhall, gloves, throws. Called safe. I don't know. They might have a beef here. We'll have to take another look.
Boy, that was a good play. True. I didn't think Chisenhall even caught the ball. Because Ramirez wouldn't have been able. He thought he was going to make the play. Watch how Chisenhall catches this. I don't know. He had to wait till it hopped up. Got it about waist high, and I think he might be out.
They're not going to challenge it.
They don't want to risk it, huh? Boy, that was close. That's all he could do. That was a good play. It goes as a base hit.
Yeah, I think it's a smart non-challenge. It looked like, especially on that last angle, Rick, it looked like his foot just by a hair was there ahead of time. If anything, it's going to be impossible to get it overturned. Bunts in the air. Runner had to hold up. They'll get the force on Encarnacion. He had to pause because that ball was kind of popped to the point where he thought maybe Chisenhall would come in and catch it. So a poor bunt attempt there by Martin.
Yeah, you're right. You're hitting 5th in that lineup, and I think he saw that where Chisenhall was back, and you're right. The ball was in the air. The base runner sort of freezes because he doesn't want to get double off, so he doesn't get a good jump. And he certainly didn't expect him to try and lay down a bunt in that situation, I guarantee you.
Kevin Pillar grounded to second his first time up. Off the bat. They're going to say it hit his hand.
Yeah, it looked like it got him on the wrist. And then it got Hayes in the mask, I think. It sounded like it anyway, so it hit batter. See where it gets him. Well, he knew it got him because he started to walk as soon as the ball hit him. The deflection got Hayes right in the mask.
Two on, one out. Michael Saunders, the batter. Bauer laboring a bit here last couple innings. He's thrown more balls than strikes to this point in the game. Saunders fouls it off.
Saunders had the good at-bat last time. He was down 1-2, and he ended up drawing the walk, laying off some very good pitches by Bauer, and that started his wildness. Leading off the third inning. He's back up there again.
Fouled right back. John Gibbons Ball Club came into today game under 500. They're 5-5 at home, 7-8 on the road. There he is again, laying off a close pitch. Blue Jays will go home after today to host the Yankees and Red Sox in the 6-game homestand. Indians will be off tomorrow before heading to Kansas City for a brief 3-game road trip. The 1-2. Hit hard and in the hole, a base hit. Coming around third, Martin. He'll come home and score the game's tying run, and into third base goes Pilar. So Michael Saunders, who hasn't hit much, delivers here, and the Blue Jays have tied the game.
Yeah, that's a pretty good piece of hitting there. That's the second hit that Bauer's given up when he's gotten to 2 strikes, and he stayed on the baseball. So back come Toronto. They respond to that run that the Indians put on. They tie the ball game up at 1, and they still have runners at the corners and just 1 out.
Ryan Goins will walk his first time up. Pulled foul. Blue Jays didn't have a hit until the inning began with Encarnacion's chopper off the plate.
And how close was that? It was a bang-bang play at first.
In the air, left field near the line. Brantley on the move. Can't get to it. Pilar's at third. Saunders, the runner at first. See if Bauer can get Goins to hit one on the ground here. Just missed outside. Boy, he has had a lot of 2-strike pitches that have been tantalizingly close.
I think he wanted this one. It's a breaking ball, backdoor breaking ball. A little off the plate. It's close. You see that little goes down a little bit, saying, "Oh my goodness." You either want that call or you want the guy to swing at it. One of the two.
Chopped to first. Santana looks home. Now he's got the runner caught in a rundown. He's running Pilar all the way back. Nicely done, but he didn't get the tag on him. He did a good job of getting him to a point where he had him cornered, but he never gave up the ball.
You got to give it up. I mean, you run at him, right. You make him make a commitment to go one way or the other. He didn't. He kept waiting and running, and he was letting Pilar get back to the base. You give it up right now. You see, when he stopped, you have to force him to go one way or the other, and he for whatever reason, just held on to it. You got to get rid of it. So now they have the bases loaded. So that's a defensive mistake. He could have went, I'll tell you, as hard as that ball was hit, he could have went for the double play as well to get out of the inning.
I thought initially that's what he was going to do.
He you know what? He thought twice about it. Then he wanted to get the guy at home, and then he made a mistake there. It may not be listed as an error, but that's an error. That's a mental error.
Well, Ezekiel Carrera is the batter with the bases loaded and only one out. And a swing and a miss.
Well, change up. First pitch.
The 0-1. Swung out and missed. Same pitch. Got him again, 0-2.
Now you can see what he's geared for. He's geared for one pitch and one pitch only, the fastball. And look at this on our Nissan pitch tracker. Good changeup. He went back-to-back changeup. This one moving down and away. Has him down in the count 0-2. Bauer's figuring, I've got to do it myself here. Will he triple up with it? Yes, he did.
Off the plate again. And Bowers only plays it first, and he didn't get him.
Now, he made a mistake of trying to throw home. He had no play at home plate. You know, even thinking home was not a right move. So there's a mistake. It'll go as a base hit. It'll go as an RBI. He checked it. He tripled up on the changeup. Once you go back, you only have one play, first base. By the time he looks at home and turns, you know what? I really think that Santana thing messed with him. I really do. Boy, you talk about gift wrapping an inning. And now Mickey Callaway, he's got to come out there and try and settle him down. That's not much he could do. That was just a mistake on his part to even look home. Anytime you're going away from a play, you don't have time.
Once the ball's chopped off the plate, especially.
You need an out. Just get an out. That's the bottom line.
So 2 mental mistakes in the inning. Really costly. As the Blue Jays have now taken the lead, there's still only one out, and the bases are loaded now for Devin Travis. Fouled back. Travis 0 for 2 on the day. The 0-1 pitch. Hit in the air. Deep left center field. Bourne watching this one go to the bleachers. A grand slam for Devin Travis. And it's a 6-run fourth for the Blue Jays.
Boy, you talk about taking advantage of a poor inning. They come in, and this young man ends up hitting a grand slam, his 7th homer. And he muscled that ball, and that thing flies into the seats in left center field. A 6-run inning. Here they go again. How many times have they done that this year?
Well, I can tell you.
I know you can.
It's at least the 7th time they had.
Yeah.
The other night it was 6 5-run innings. So it's the 7th time they've scored at least 5 in an inning. But if they just take the outs that were given, Travis doesn't even get to the plate. That's where mental mistakes really killed him in this inning. 2 down.
And for the second straight day, they're going to send 9 men to the plate.
Jose Bautista, who struck out to end the 3rd with the bases loaded, pops this one out of play. A little bit low.
They had their 6th run inning in the 6th yesterday. Today, it happens to come in the 4th. But boy, the mistakes that led up to it. Very frustrating inning because the Indians took the lead in the bottom half of the 3rd on the Kipnis solo home run.
Strike called, full count. So officially, Rick, that's the 3rd time that they've scored 6 runs in an inning.
And the 7th time they've gotten 5.
At least 5.
Right.
Yeah. Hammered foul.
Well, we did tell you before the game, Hutchison, 2nd most run support in the league, trailing only his teammate Mark Burley.
And a payoff pitch again. That's hit hard. Deep left. Brantley back at the wall. Can't get there. Backed up by Bourne and into second with a double is Batista.
Their first double of the day, and they lead the league in that department as well.
Number 54 in doubles.
It's at their 23rd game. Well, here we go. This is the start of an inning where Santana has an out. Actually had a double play if he chooses to go to the 3-6-3, but he doesn't. He doesn't get an out. Then Bauer makes a mistake trying to go to home. He doesn't get an out. So there's 2 you give away, and then you get a grand slam that adds an injury to insult, or insult to injury for the 6 runs in this inning.
And that's 22 straight games with a double for Toronto.
All started by a bang-bang play by this guy at first base.
Nice
for the
block
first
by
hit
Hayes,
of the game.
but Batista still goes to 3rd. The 2-0. Popped him up. Bauer.
Get out of the way.
Gives way to Chisenhall. And the inning is over. But the Blue Jays explode, taking advantage of some miscues. They lead it now 6-1. Frustrated and upset Trevor Bauer. It's one thing when the other guy beats you. That's part of competing. That's part of athletics. There's always going to come a day where there's somebody just better and they just whip you. But when you beat yourself, that's tough to swallow.
Well, they're mental mistakes. You can't give errors. There should be 2 errors there. He made one, and so did Santana. Santana made the big one where it should have been a 3-6-3 double play.
Well, let's not forget Carlos also had a base running mistake that cost the Indians in the second inning when they had 2 on and 1 out. A mental miscue there.
Yeah.
Well, down 5 in the 4th. Brantley, Santana, Moss due up. Brantley robbed of a hit his first time up. Really nice play by Encarnacion over at first. It's 3-1.
Well, a lot of ball game left. The Indians are going to have to peck away and get a couple at a time.
Brantley's hit in every game of the series up to this point. And he launches one to right field. Back goes Carrera well over his head. Going to short hop the fence. And Michael's going to glide into second base with a double. So he's hit now in all 4 games of the series. Got 7 hits in 15 at bats.
Well,
and that's about par for the course when he faces Toronto, isn't it?
It is when you face Toronto, but when he gets a count in his favor, he's sitting on a pitch too, and he gets deadly the way he's swinging the bat.
Our T-Mobile game changer is Michael Brantley. 462 with runners on, 529 with runners in scoring position. Even more clutch with 2 outs. Unfortunately, hasn't had any of those opportunities yet today. Brantley's a lifetime, almost 380, if not better, hitter against Toronto. Came in 376. 42 hits now and 111 at bats against the Blue Jays all time. One ball, 1 strike. Santana took advantage of the Blue Jays shift his first time up and just bunted one toward third. There was nobody home, and he had the infield hit. But with Brantley at second, the third baseman, Donaldson, stays over toward the bag. That's ripped foul. That one might have got the umpire. John Tumpane.
Sure did, directly. Right off the top of the mask.
In the dirt. Good block by Martin, 2-2. Santana, 3 homers, 2 doubles so far this year. Dozen driven in. Hits it in the hole and a base hit. Brantley got a late break. He'll have to stop at third. And the Indians have runners at the corners with nobody out.
Well, found the hole. They're playing 3 on the right side. That's the thing to do. You get to 2 strikes. That ball might have been 6 inches to a foot off the plate. So he goes that way, and right there, Michael probably didn't know where the defense was because he should have been off at the crack of the bat. Nobody on that side of the infield. Third baseman was in front of him.
So, Brandon Moss to the plate with runners at first and third and nobody out. Another ball in the dirt blocked by Martin. Big spot here for Moss with 2 on and nobody out. And the Indians down 5 trying to get right back in it. And he bounces it foul. Moss liner to left. Saunders makes the catch. Brantley tags. He's coming home. Here's the throw cut off. And the Indians get a run back here. It's now 6-2. Moss with his 17th run batted in on the year.
Well, you see the big boys now trying to go the other way. That ball hit on the nose. It just stayed up to where Saunders could make the play, but Moss a good job with a runner in scoring position to get it out to the outfield. They get the sacrifice fly. They make it a 6-2 game.
Now David Murphy. Murph off to a slow start at home. This has normally been a great place for him to hit throughout his career, mostly as a visiting player, but began the year better than 300 average here at Progressive Field, but that hit his first time up, just his third of the season coming here at home, 3 out of 16.
Well, he's hit a couple of balls on the nose, hit one almost for a home run here. And
yesterday, yeah. To the base of the wall, about 375 away.
That's not, he's been swinging the bat okay. He just the hits haven't been coming.
Popped out of play. Right back up the middle, but right there is the shortstop covering, and they turn it into an inning-ending double play.
How about that?
Ryan Goins with a terrific play to end the inning. Indians get a run back, 6-2 Toronto. Ohio Honda dealers. By the Cleveland Clinic. Call for an appointment today. And by the game-changing all-new Ford F-150. The future is tough. 6-2 in favor of Toronto. 5th inning. Russell Martin leading off, swing and a miss. Way outside, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Hit to third, backhanded by Chisenhall. Long throw, and a stretch by Santana to get him. Or did he? No, he dropped the ball. Boy, heck of a stop and a long throw by Chisenhall. It appeared to be there, but Santana had to stretch for it. Take another look.
I will. There we go, the bottom side. He goes to his backhand side, makes the good throw. Just one of those days for Santana. He can't do anything right. There's a good play, and they just couldn't hold on to it.
They give him a base hit. Kevin Pillar takes outside ball 1. Up high with it, 2 balls, no strikes.
We've got action in the Indians bullpen. I don't know if that Zipper is the left-handed pitcher. Yeah, Zipchinski.
Bauer just over 80 pitches, but it was a long 4th inning for him. Toronto sent 10 men to the plate in the 4th. There's a pop-up right field. In comes Moss. 1 away. In-game recap brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Jason Kipnis with a home run in the 3rd. A 2-out solo shot gave the Indians a 1-0 lead. It was a brief lead. In the 4th, some costly mental mistakes. This the 2nd. The Blue Jays to take the lead, kept them loaded, and then Travis unloaded them. The grand slam, 6-run 4th for the Blue Jays. Hayes blocks one in the dirt. Saunders walked in the 3rd. He singled in a run and scored in the 4th.
Yeah, he's had a couple of good at-bats today so far. Bauer had him down in the first at-bat. He ended up working the walk, and then he shot the base hit to left field. Drove in their first run. Started that 6-run inning with an RBI.
Popped up, foul, and over the dugout, out of play.
Russell Martin aboard at first with one down. Two balls, two strikes. Chopped in the hole and a base hit to right field. Martin hits the bag and he'll hold right there at second. Second hit in the inning, and that's going to be it for Trevor Bauer.
Sure is.
Terry Francona hopped out of the dugout, makes his way to the center of the diamond, where he will remove Bauer after 4 1/3 innings here today. Charged with 6 runs on 7 hits, responsible for the 2 on base. The Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen for the left-hander Mark Zipchinski when we come back. Golf and give you tips to improve your game as you hit the links this spring. Probably also have some travel tips after his recent jaunt to the left coast. The Golf Zone tees off at 8 tonight on Sports Time Ohio.
Well, we know where he went on that left coast, and it's a tremendous place.
I'm sure it'll be featured in one of his upcoming programs on Sports Time Ohio. Well, Mark Zipchinski, for the 12th time this year, comes into a situation with 2 on and 1 out. And Ryan Goins the batter.
Trying to keep it a 6-2 ball game. Indians can't afford to give up any more.
Right back up the middle. Might have hit his foot.
It did.
Karams right to Ramirez. Steps on the bag for 1. On to first. A double play. Oh, Zipchinski, you talk about a kick save and a beauty. None better than this one. Indians out of the inning. Bottom of the fifth, bottom third of the Indians' order due here. Trying to dig themselves out of a hole. They were down 6-1. They got one in the fourth. They got to keep chipping away here.
Well, they got a break there. They just get out of that last inning with a double play, and nobody scores, although they hit into a double play. The same thing happened, Murphy, right on the nose, right up the middle. They get a 6-3 double play.
Yeah. Chisenhall fouls it back out of play. Broke his bat, but that's going to work out well, I do believe. Yes, a fair ball inside the chalk, but the ball boy grabs it.
Yeah, he did.
And Chisenhall's at second base anyway, so really no harm done. My bad.
Oh, boy. I wasn't paying attention if it was fair or foul. He's got to watch the umpire and get out of the way. That breaks the bat of Chisenhall. It's going to hit just inside the chalk, if not on the chalk, and there he is. Well, here you go.
Nobody wants it now.
They're going to get thrown out.
You take it. No, you take it.
He didn't even catch it. He dropped his glove like it was a pancake, and he tried to give the sausage to the fans.
Here's Brett Hayes. A swing and a miss. Like a kid in school that took something off the teacher's desk. Here, you take it. I'm not taking it.
I didn't touch it. He's got. Oh, boy.
The 0-1. Swing and a miss. Hutchison's thrown 75 pitches and 53 have been strikes. He's been aggressive, and he hasn't walked anybody.
Well, as I mentioned at the start, 3 of his starts have lasted under 5 innings, but today it looks like he's cruising.
Strikes out Hayes, just his second strikeout of the day. Michael Bourne's going to come up with a runner at second base. Let's go down to Andre Nato, who has more on Bourne's comeback from that faceplant the other night.
Yeah, he said Friday night he was just trying to get around the catcher, and he said he couldn't hook slide, so he had to go head first. And he said he was just so busy trying to get the plate that he didn't even realize his face went into the dirt. He still thinks he's safe, though. He's still complaining about it. But after batting practice yesterday, he realized he was a little sore, so that's why he sat out yesterday. But he says he feels great today.
No, and he's back in there, grounded out his first time up, takes ball 1. That snaps a string of 10 consecutive strikes thrown by Drew Hutchison. Well, that's what you want to see from a pitcher when they give you the lead. Go out and throw strikes.
Right. Well, you mentioned he hasn't walked anybody, and that's the key. He's been able to get 2 double play balls today, one a base running mistake on the first one. And then they turned one last inning to get out without giving up a run. It's a little easier to pitch when you have a lead, and you have a comfortable lead. You can relax a little bit more. You don't have to be perfect. Tell you what, Martin made a nice pick right there on this backhanded ball. He's picked it, and he was coming up firing for second base. Boy, he has moved around. He's been impressive in this series, the way he catches.
Sometimes the catcher doesn't have a chance to get his body in front of it. You've got to try to pick it.
Well, that one, he had no choice.
Yeah.
In this series, 44 balls have been in the dirt or around him that he's had to block or stay in front of. And that doesn't include the foul tips that he's been hit with. He's been very active back there for the 4-game series.
Bourne in a good spot here. 3-1 pitch coming. Takes an off-speed pitch for a strike. Obviously wasn't looking there. Full count. Out of play. It stays 3-2.
That ball landed down near Grover's box, and I noticed he didn't move for it.
You didn't have to anymore.
He wait till it stops rolling and pick it up.
Pop back out of play. There's Mike alongside Dennis Lehman.
Yeah, there he is. He's back in town now.
Payoff pitch. And Bourne takes ball 4. Time for a Mazda game break. Let's send it down to the corner and Al Pulowski.
Hey, Matt. Hey, Rick. Let's head out to Kansas City with the Tigers taking on the Royals. And Alex Avila gets the Tigers on the board first here, the top of the second inning. 1-0 to score. Anibal Sanchez pitching for the Tigers. No hitter through 3. Matt.
6-2. Toronto on top here. Tribe has 2 on, 1 out, and Jason Kipnis will be at the dish. So an opportunity to climb back in.
A little bit at a time. You're right. Can't do it all at once.
Kipnis homered in the 3rd. That gave the Indians a brief 1-0 lead. Up high, ball 1. Lefty Jeff Francis up in the Toronto pen. Kipnis with a ground ball off the glove of the third baseman Donaldson into shallow left. Around third and scoring is Chisenhall. Bourne gets to third, and it's now a 6-3 ball game. Kipnis with a hot smash to third, picks up the RBI, his 11th now on the year. He's driven in 2 of the Indians' 3 runs today.
Yeah, you look at Donaldson. That left hand is hurting over there. That ball was hit, and I mean hit very hard. He has to range. I don't know if it got him on the wrist or not. It deflects up in the air and into left field. It allows Chisenhall to score, Bourne to go to third base. Now the Indians in business. They're starting to trim that lead down.
Pete Walker out to the mound to talk with Hutchison as the bullpen continues to ready. And Jose Ramirez coming to the plate. Bourne aggressively got to third. There is Francis, just about ready to go. Outside, ball 1. Ramirez 0 for 2 today. And 2 for 19 on the homestand. Kipnis, oh, he wanted to go. He had to jump. Ramirez jumps one to right field. Back goes Carrera. Can't make the play. Scoring is Bourne. And into third with a full head of steam was Kipnis, stopped there. Ramirez to second on a long double to right center field. And it's now a 6-4 ball game. The tying run is at second base.
Yeah, Kipnis couldn't go around second. He had to wait to see if Carrera was going to catch the ball. He had a beat on it. And as he dives, it looks like it went off his glove. It sure does. It was in his glove. But, I mean, he was prone. He was flying. Looked like Superman out there. And it comes out of the glove. And by that time, Kipnis couldn't restart. He will stop at third, but there's 3 hits in the inning, already 2 runs in. Hutchison is done for the afternoon, and again, that's going to be his 4th start where he doesn't get through 5 innings.
Boy, the Indians have turned this thing around in a hurry with 3 hits in the inning. 2 have scored. They've closed the gap to 2, and we'll be right back. Jose Ramirez with an RBI double here in the 5th, just off the end of the glove of Ezekiel Carrera on the Wendy's slow-mo cam.
Great effort. He got there. I mean, he had a beat on it, but he just couldn't hold on to it. So Ramirez pulled one in the gap. He made it a 6-4 game. They changed pitchers. The Indians still with runners at second and third, and still just one out. And you've got Brantley at the plate.
And 34-year-old Jeff Francis. Toronto is the 4th different team he's pitched for since last year. Michael Brantley 1 for 2 with a double and a run scored. Outside ball 1. Last year, Francis pitched with the Reds, the Athletics, and the Yankees. Most of his career spent with Colorado. Also had a stint with Kansas City. In the dirt, blocked nicely by Martin. And it's 2-0 for Michael Brantley.
Well, he's not going to be the guy to chase a ball out of the zone. You're going to have to throw Michael a strike. Again, going down to make a block. Russell Martin. He had to be a goalie at some time in his life.
Well, he lives in Quebec, so
yeah,
Canadian native. He
had to be a goalie.
Figure. His dad was somewhat of an accomplished jazz musician. Martin's middle name is Coltrane, a nod to John Coltrane. There's a line drive base hit into left field. Scoring is Kipnis. Ramirez around third with the tying run. Here's the throw to the plate. He is safe! And the Indians have come all the way back to tie the game at 6. 4 in the 5th. And Brantley delivers once again in the clutch. A 2-run single plates Ramirez, who stumbled ever so slightly coming around third, but he did get home just ahead of the tag.
That's because he broke back to second base. He broke back and then had to restart. I was surprised that Sarbaugh starts it, but what's he doing looking behind for the throw? Put your head down, go to the plate. He gets the arm in, gets the back of the plate, and he does beat the throw. Martin comes up short, so Brantley another big hit. The Indians back with 4 runs, and we have a new ball game.
And now Carlos Santana with Brantley, the go-ahead run in scoring position. Still only 1 out. And a breaking ball in for strike 1. Now Brantley just tearing it up in so many categories this year. He's tearing it up against the Blue Jays in his career. That continues. Most of Santana's success offensively this year has come from the right side of the plate. He's batting .286 against the lefties. No homers and only 3 RBIs, but from an average standpoint, he stays on the ball a little better this side. Checked. It's a called strike. The Indians have made the most of their opportunities. 4 out of 6. Blue Jays not too shabby, 3 for 8.
You know, it's something the Indians have to do a better job of, and they're doing a good job today.
3 straight hits in the inning. Santana fights it off.
Three doubles and the home run for the Indians. So 4 of their 9 hits, extra base hits, they've scored in 3 straight innings after Toronto dropped a 6th spot in the 4th.
Throw to second. Brantley back safely. This is where Ty Van Berkeley wants to see Santana bring that same patient approach that he does when there's nobody on base. But he's in the hole, 1-2. And got a piece of that. I don't know if Martin had a good shot to hold on to that or not.
Something off speed. They had him out in front.
A 1-2 in the dirt. John Gibbons has watched a 5-run lead disappear in a hurry. It was 6-1 going into the bottom of the fourth, but the Indians got one back in the fourth. They've plated 4 here in the fifth, and still only one out with Brantley, the go-ahead run at second base. The 2-2. Low and a full count. So as Ty Van Berkeley, the Indians hitting coach, this is what he's hoping for Santana. Look, hey, it doesn't matter if there's nobody on base, if there's bases loaded. Be the same patient hitter. Wait for your pitch. He's got it back to full count. Payoff pitch. Ball 4. And Santana, with the patience, wins out. 2 on. Still only 1 away. And Brandon Moss coming to the plate.
Yeah, it almost looked like he was going to make Santana hit his pitch, which didn't look like he wanted to throw him a strike, but the patience did pay off. Draws the walk. Now the double play in order, but he gets to face the left-hander as well.
So 2 on, 1 out. Lefty-lefty matchup for Brandon Moss as he faces Francis. Just the second meeting in his career against this southpaw. Shot for the corner and missed.
See if Rayburn comes out of the dugout next. Should the inning continue, and if Moss keeps it rolling?
Well, Rayburn's down there stretching with a bat, so I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm thinking he would be if the lefty's in there.
Moss pops it to left. In comes Saunders and makes the catch, 2 away.
Well, KeyBank Kids tickets start at just $10 for kids 12 and under with the purchase of an adult ticket, and it's located in the new family deck here at the ballpark, so you can log on to Indians.com.
David Murphy will be lifted for a pinch hitter as Ryan Rayburn comes to the plate. Blue Jays just got a right-hander up, so I don't think Castro's ready.
No, he's not. He's only thrown probably 2 or 3 pitches out in the bullpen.
Ryan Rayburn has been tearing up left-handed pitching this year to a tune of .441. He's 15 out of 34 against the lefties. And Rayburn coming on here with 2 on and now 2 out in a 6-6 ball game. Hit hard, fair down the third baseline. Brantley scores the go-ahead run. Santana racing into third. He'll be waved home. He'll score 2. Ryan Rayburn off the bench with a 2-out, 2-run double. And the Indians have scored 6 of their own here in the 5th inning.
Rayburn jumped on that first pitch, and they tried to throw a little breaking ball inside. They didn't get it in enough, and he pulled it right down the line for his 7th double. And boy, cashes in. How about that? One swing paying dividends. With 2 outs, you're off and running. You see he keeps it inside the bag. Donaldson couldn't get there. Down into the corner by the time Saunders gets there. In comes Brantley, and Santana carrying the mail. Backs it at home plate. The Indians up by 2, 8-6.
The Indians have batted around now as Lonnie Chisenhall hits for the 2nd time in the inning. He doubled to start the frame. Blue Jays had a 6-run 4th. The Indians have come back with a 6-run 5th. And they lead it by 2. Oh, what a big strategic move that turns out to be, as Terry Francona goes to Rayburn off the bench, who has just scorched the lefties all year long. He's now 16 for 35 against left-handed pitching. John Gibbons didn't have a right-hander ready to counter. And the Tribe has cashed in with a big 6 spot in the 5th inning. They led it 1-0 in the 3rd. Since then, it's been a free-for-all.
This is only the 5th inning. There's a long way to go in this ball game.
Indians also had a 6-run inning in Detroit on that last road trip
Friday night.
Missed inside, and Lonnie Chisenhall draws a walk. That's going to be it for Jeff Francis. The veteran left-hander offering very little relief for the Blue Jays. He gets 1 out, but he surrenders a couple of big 2-run hits. Also walked a pair, and the Indians have flipped the script on Toronto. They lead it 8-6 here in the 5th inning. All right, this inning started off with a double by Chisenhall, walked aboard, and then Jason Kipnis with an RBI single. Jose Ramirez followed with an RBI double just off the glove of Carrera in right. Then they go to the bullpen, and Michael Brantley smacks a 2-run single.
Close play at the plate there.
Pitch hitter Ryan Rayburn off the bench, right over the bag at third, drives in 2 more. And the Indians have an 8-6 lead.
Yeah, Rayburn, boy, what a nice at-bat. First pitch.
Brett Hayes to face Miguel Castro. Castro, rookie, 13th appearance on the year. He's had some ups and downs, but he's got a terrific arm. As Hayes cuts and misses. Castro's first 6 games, he did not allow an earned run. But then 4 earned runs allowed in his last 6 games. 10 hits over 4 innings of work. But that's part of young pitchers learning at the big league level.
Well, they had him in a closer's role earlier this year. He's only, 20 years old, I believe. And when you blow a couple saves, it messes with your confidence, especially when you're this young at the major league level. And so what they did, they want to push him back, use him in some low, as they call it, low leverage situations or not as much pressure on the line. and where he could go out and relax and find himself again. But he has a great arm.
Well, he blew away Hayes with 3 pitches to end the inning, but not before the Indians explode for 6 here in the 5th. They've come all the way back to regain the lead at 8-6. Of great clips.
Well, Webb has done a nice job in the 2 appearances he started in this series.
All right, so here's Mark Zipchinski. Got the double play to end the 5th inning, and looking back on it, that was gigantic. Given everything that's transpired since, it was a line drive right back at him. It looked like it glanced off of his foot.
Did we figure it out yet? Or was it?
I think it hit either his foot or his shin and then hit the ground, carried him right to Ramirez, who turned it into an inning-ending double play. That's one of those things where sometimes, Rick, you'll see a guy stick a foot out and it kicks the wrong way.
Yeah, deflects, yep.
Away from the fielder who was going up the middle to get it.
Well, it kicked the right direction this time to get out of the inning because you thought it was a base hit. It hits down and right to Ramirez. I don't even know if Ramirez caught it in his glove or not, but he was able to grab it and turn the double play and get out of the inning.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Awfully close and a full count.
Well, he's sitting on that part of the plate. He had a good look at it.
Carrera strikes out. 1 away. And out comes Terry Francona for a pitching change as we take a look at our Circle K strikeout of the game. Just above the belt.
There you go. You end up getting it, gets the strikeout, and then he will go to the shower. It's time to go back to the bullpen.
1 inning of relief work for Mark Zipchinski. Zeros across with the strikeout. And now Brian Shaw will be next.
Story Bar with our $13 district ticket presented by Sports Time Ohio. The new bar is the best place in town to grab a cold one, and with the district ticket, your first drink is on us. Go to Indians.com.
Well, the corner is jumping today with all the action here. 14 runs, 17 hits combined between the two clubs. Brian Shaw, third Indians pitcher of the day. With one out, he's got the top of the order now, Devin Travis. Travis connected for a grand slam in the fourth. This rookie's done it all so far. 7 home runs and 23 runs batted in. Will he see more breaking balls as the season goes on?
I would think so. Absolutely. He hit that fastball off of Bauer for the grand slam. So, yeah, I mean, but, you know, he'll make adjustments. We'll see if he makes adjustments. Watch the pitch he hit out of the ballpark. It was a fastball middle in, and he drives it to left center field. You know, the league will adjust to him and see. Everybody likes to hit the fastball. They should. He can. We'll see if he can handle a breaking ball. He'll make adjustments.
Outside.
I mean, he's going to be a big part of this lineup because he gets on. This guy's got a chance to have a huge year scoring runs with the guys that are hitting behind him.
He was a Tigers farmhand that they shipped to Toronto for Anthony Gose, 2-2. But as Rick pointed out the other night, I mean, based on where the Tigers lineup is at and their payroll structure, he was blocked because of Ian Kinsler.
Right. Nowhere to play. So he was a guy that they could afford to give up, and they went after Anthony Gose, a guy that they needed outfield help to platoon in center field. They got a pretty good one working there with Rajai Davis and Anthony Gose as well. But that's an opportunity for this young man to get a chance to play and get 4 at-bats every day, and you can see they might have made a mistake letting him go because he looks pretty good right now.
He's making the most of it, no doubt about that. Here's the payoff pitch. Swing and a miss. Shaw with a strikeout, 2 down in the inning.
Well, here's the cutter. You got him a slider in this at-bat, and there's the cut. Away, he swings through it right into the glove of Hayes. That'll be out number 2 here in the 6th.
Now Josh Donaldson. Breaking ball over the front side of the plate, but yes, it missed ball 1. That's low. Shaw 3-0 now to Donaldson. And then he missed on 4 straight after striking out Travis. That's going to bring up Jose Bautista. You know, we earlier gave you the profile on Jose Bautista. I thought it was interesting, though. You look back, because this guy sort of came out of nowhere when he hit the big 54 home run season for Toronto in 2010. And he pops the first pitch in the air. Center field. Michael Bourne makes the grab. So Brian Shaw helps the Tribe get out of the inning. They maintain an 8-6 lead, middle of the 6th.
most exciting promotional items this season by purchasing a promo pass for an additional $5. Promo passes ensures fans get a promotional item no matter what time they arrive at the ballpark. Just visit Indians.com promo pass for the details.
All right, back to work go the Indians. Michael Bourne takes a strike. Bourne walked and scored in the Indians' 6-run fifth. One ball, one strike. And a foul right back. This kid's just 20 years old.
Yeah. He has a very good arm. He gets it up there in the mid-90s. They're going with a very young staff, too, for the most part, other than the couple of veterans they have at the top of the rotation.
Ground ball to second base. And a nice play made there by Travis. One down. Our AT&T U-verse rewind. Jason Kipnis back in the third inning. Bang. Gave the Indians a 1-0 lead with his third home run of the year. All three coming on the homestand. Then in the fifth, a big RBI single. That really got the momentum going. And they never let up.
No, I'll tell you what, he is taken to the leadoff spot very well. He's seen a lot of pitches in this series. 5 plate appearances Thursday, over 20 pitches. Same Friday and Saturday. Today he has 3, and he has 20 pitches already seen. You know, you put a guy in a different spot, and I don't know if it's mentally. We'd have to ask Jason. But, you know, instead of trying to do more than you're capable, just go up there and try and hit the baseball and get on base. Not only is he hitting it, he's hitting it with power. He's staying on it. He's using all the fields.
Down on the count here, 1-2 against the live arm of Castro. Punches it to left, a base hit.
A beauty.
He's got 3 hits on the day. Hard turn at first, and he'll put the brakes on. And he'll hold with a 1-out single.
Third straight hit for Jason. That ball looked like it had to go off the end of the bat, huh?
Sure did. Changeup.
Yeah, it was a good pitch, but he stayed on it. That pitch down and away, and he didn't pull off of it. Right off the end of the bat, and he just flares it in to shallow left. But you take it. 11 hits now for the Indians.
And now Jose Ramirez takes a strike.
Seventh time this year that the Indians have had 10 or more hits. And the top 3 hitters have scored 5 of the runs. 5 of the 8 for the Indians today. You got Kipnis scoring 2, Ramirez scored 1, and then of course Michael Brantley has scored 2.
This is probably one of those statistical categories that every team falls in line with. But I mean, for the Indians, it's pretty striking. When they out-hit their opponents this year, they're 6-2. When they don't, they're 2-11.
Yeah, I mean, you look at all the numbers you look at for the Indians, they're not very good when you give up 3 runs. Well, they have a chance to win a game today. But now, you know what's going on? They're starting to create a little excitement at the top part of the lineup, a little energy. You know, things are happening. They're making some left turns instead of some easy innings, and it's giving the big boys a chance to hit now with runners in scoring position. This is a nice swing here. That's a great pitch away. He just went and pulled one into right center field for a double and an RBI his last at-bat, and slaps this one for a single to left field in his very next at-bat. So 5 hits between Kipnis and Ramirez today.
And now you got the guy who's hitting everything in sight, Michael Brantley. He's 2 for 3, could be 3 for 3 if not for a great play at first by Encarnacion back in the first inning. in the dirt, and another good stop by Martin. First up, this was Brantley's double in the fourth. And then in the fifth, a wicked single that drove in two. That's a balk on Castro, and the runners go to second and third.
Oh, that's a mistake. And now Brantley gets a free at bat here, second and third. It's going to bring the infield in. Let's see, just the flinch. Folks, that's all it takes. Did you see that? Did he even move an inch? But I give the umpire credit, John Tumpane. He saw that slight movement.
It's because he stopped. You know, that's the whole thing. If you start and stop, that's when they get you.
Yeah, that's what I thought they'd do, put Brantley on. That's like an automatic run if you pitch to him. So now Santana's going to get an opportunity with one out.
Wow. That ball almost took off. So ball four to Brantley. And the bases are loaded with one out for Santana. So it goes right back to the last thing we talked about with Carlos and that patient approach. He worked the count, took a walk. Now that was batting right-handed. And we know that from the left side of the plate, this is where the power side is, and that's where he tends to get a little homer happy, maybe.
He has a chance now to open it up with a nice base hit here. You don't need all four. Just get a base hit and you get two of them in. That'll be just fine.
And with Kipnis at third and Ramirez at second, a base hit should score both of those guys. Just foul up the first base line. And with Michael Brantley at first base, Santana finds a gap. He'll clear the bases.
Well, right there, that first swing was dead pull. He wanted to pull. That was a 95-mile-an-hour fastball that he pulled foul.
Another block by Martin. The 1-1. You can't go 5-hole to beat Martin. You're going to have to go top shelf.
Well, he's proven that.
Try to beat him stick side. Santana sitting good here, 2-1. And now he's used that patience to put himself in the old catbird seat, as Red Barber used to say.
Yeah. Remain patient.
Ball four, and the Indians had a run. They lead at 9-6. Santana with RBI number 13 on the year.
And didn't even have to lift the bat off his shoulder.
Now Brandon Moss looks at a sinker away. Ball one. Or was that a change? I guess that was a changeup.
Indians have scored in 4 straight innings.
Castro ready with a 1-1 to Moss. And he hits one in the air to center field. Pilar makes the grab, tagging at third. Ramirez will come home and score. Brantley tags from second, goes to third. 2 more score here in the 6th, and the Indians have opened up a 10-6 advantage. Moss, with his second sac fly of the day, now has 18 runs batted in on the year. Good old fundamental baseball. Get him over, get him in. Santana drew the bases loaded walk. That kept the train moving.
Yeah, in the last 4 innings, they put 10 runs on the board on 12 hits today. The walk certainly helped.
Brandon Moss leading the tribe with 18 ribbies. And now here's Ryan Rayburn, who had a monster at bat coming off the bench as a pinch hitter in the 5th inning. First ball he saw, and he smoked it right over the bag at third to drive in 2 runs. Gave the Indians the lead, and now that ball fouled out of play to the right.
Well, and he wasted no time. They tried to throw that little breaking ball down and into it and bury him, but no, they didn't get it in there, and Brian was ready for it right down the line. A couple of RBIs, another pinch hit. Well done. Off to a really good start this year. We talked about him last year how many times, fouling certain pitches off and fouling them off, but you know what? He's not doing it this year. He's right. He's locked in. He's getting a pitch, and he's liking it, and he's putting it in play, and he's putting it in play hard, using the whole field. I want to watch this at-bat against the right-hander because the bulk of it has come against lefties.
Yeah, he's only had 4 at-bats against right-handed pitching.
I know, but, you know, when you're locked in and you're a hitter, you're a major league hitter, it doesn't matter who you face. You see the baseball, you have confidence, you feel you're going to hit it hard somewhere.
Case in point, he's sitting 3-1. Not chasing, not over-anxious. Good fastball by Castro. And a full count. Santana will be off at first. Brantley, the runner, at third. And he strikes him out to end the inning. But the Indians tack on 2 more. They lead it 10-6 as we head to the 7th. .com to learn more. By Levin Mattress, located in all Levin furniture and freestanding locations. And by AT&T Uverse, has more channels on the go than cable. Ten-6 Tribe, 7th inning. fourth pitcher of the game now for the Indians will be right-hander Zach McAllister. He's got the 4, 5, and 6 hitters due up for Toronto. McAllister trying to settle into his new role out of the bullpen.
Well, he's done a fine job. He's settled down his last couple of outings coming out of that bullpen. And you look at the Toronto hitting this year, innings 1 through 6, they're about a 280 hitting club, and that's when they do the bulk of their scoring. From the 7th inning on, they're under a 200 hitting club. And they did all their scoring in the 4th inning again, 6 runs. But that has been it today. 7 hits. Tribe made some mistakes, a couple of mental mistakes in that inning.
Well, they were able to bounce back from it, and that's
something
to be said for that. It's one thing to make mistakes. You never want to see guys feel sorry for themselves or hang their head. They didn't do that. Pulled themselves up and got right back in the game. You know, when I mentioned McAllister trying to settle into his role, last 3 games, he's pitched more of a normal, not the long man type stuff.
Right.
4 1/3 innings, 1 hit, no walks, 6 Ks.
Make it 7. And add another third. Yeah, he's been locked in. He's been throwing the ball very well. That's the role we got to see him in last year where he looked very comfortable. You know, when he comes back in, looks like a little cutter there at the outside part of the plate.
Just a little something to take him off.
Sure. He can throw the high riding fastball. That little cutter takes him off as long as you don't fall in love with it. 95 outside corner, strike 1. I think he gets a lot more confidence when you come into that role because it makes him throw a lot harder. You know, in the starting role, it's not he may throw 93, 92 to 93, sometimes 94. But when he was starting, you know,
you got to go 6, 7 innings.
Yeah, but you have to throw off-speed pitches for strikes. He can come in this situation and throw an inning, sometimes 2 innings, and he doesn't need a breaking ball.
There's a good breaking ball, though, and you can see Martin, he barely got out of the box. I don't know if he hurt himself or if he's just beat up and physically exhausted from all the work he's done behind the plate. Yeah, he looks like he's hurting a little bit. Maybe his pride as well. Who knows?
Well, that, and he has done a lot of work behind the dish there today, so he's one of those guys, all right, I'm not going to run it out. I'm a catcher. He's taking a beating back there.
2 down for Kevin Pillar. And McAllister with a strike. One ball, 1 strike. Smoke to center. Bourne streaking back. Makes the catch. Oh, on a dead sprint, he got a tremendous jump and runs it down in deep center field. Stretch time in Cleveland, brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Gave Tampa Bay their welcome to the big leagues moment. The expansion franchise playing here in Cleveland. Roberto Hernandez serving up a walk-off grand salami.
Yes, indeed. Look at Tommy. That's when they used to knock a few screws loose.
I think Tommy hit him harder than he hit the ball. Well, Sandy gave us a lot of thrills and a lot of great memories. Toronto going back to their bullpen as Scott Copeland is the new pitcher. Miguel Castro went an inning and a third. He gave up 2 runs on a couple of hits. Walked a couple of, one was intentional. Lonnie Chisenhall doubled and scored in that big inning for the Tribe. Grounds out here, 1 down. Back down to the corner for another Mazda game in-game update. Here's Al.
Hey, man, let's head to Minnesota where the Twins had a huge bottom of the 3rd inning. They scored 7 runs, highlighted by this grand slam by Trevor Plouffe. His 5th homer of the season. It's now 7-2 Minnesota, moving to the bottom of the 4th. Matt?
Break up the Twins, Al. They are playing really well. Trying to go a game above 500. Running their win streak potentially to 4 straight. In Chicago staring at 5 straight losses. Meanwhile, Tigers blanking Kansas City 6-0 in the 6th at Kauffman Stadium. Royals just picked up their first hit in that game. Orlando broke up the no-hitter. Brett Hayes 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts today. Popped in the air on the infield. Goins grabs it, 2 down. Cavaliers tip off the Eastern Conference semifinals tomorrow night at the Q, and we've got you covered. Live pregame coverage with your home team. Starting 5 starts at 6:30, and a full postgame coverage after the game. It's only on Fox Sports Ohio. Bourne, bouncer to short. Goins, Fields fires, and the inning is over. Indians go 1-2-3. We'll go to the 8th. 10-6 Cleveland. May not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. 10-6, the Tribe leads it. 8th inning. Zach McAllister staying on for a second inning of relief work. He's got the 3 left-handers at the bottom of the Toronto order. Indians have Nick Hagan on up in the bullpen, the left-hander, and the right-hander, Scott Atchison. Saunders goes after the first pitch and fouls it back out of play.
Saunders has had a good day today. 2 for 2. Walked in his first at-bat. Scored a run, driven one in.
Back out of play. Upstairs. Now McAllister fires, and that one took off on him. 2 balls, 2 strikes. It's been a wild one today here at Progressive Field. The Indians led it 1-0. Oh, man, what a pitch. Fastball just froze him. Outside corner, well located. Second K for McAllister. He's retired all 4 that he's faced. Take another look. Just bang.
And perfect down at the knees on the outside corner. Saunders knew it. Good pitch by Big Zach.
If you've been out and enjoying the spectacular weather we're having on this gorgeous Sunday, Indians grabbed the early lead on a Jason Kipnis home run. But then a disastrous 4th inning saw Toronto score 6 times to take a 6-1 lead. But today, the Indians would come back. They got 1 on the 4th, and then a 6-run 5th for the Tribe. Highlighted by RBI hits from Kipnis, Ramirez, 2-run single by Brantley, 2-run double, pinch hit by Ryan Rayburn.
Yeah, you know, the last few times they've come up and they've scored, and like against Toronto, it's been a whole team effort, which is certainly what this club needed.
Goins, a seeing eye single right up the gut. Snaps a string of 5 in a row set down by Indians pitching. Stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. Alan Jensen down at the corner will have the set fired up and ready to go. Ezekiel Carrera struck out his last time up. A little bit outside. Checked his swing and over the top of the dugout. Here's the 1-1. And another ball up the middle. This one off the foot of McAllister. He couldn't find it.
Tell you what, what's with the pitchers?
Well, this is what we talked about before. We had the great carom off the foot of Zipchinski that went for a double play, but sometimes it goes off the foot and it goes away from your fielders. So.
Well, this one did, but I mean, the Indians pitchers with the kip saves today, it's Stanley Cup time, I understand.
Well, Zach's got the playoff beard going. So
I'll tell you what, this one goes for a base hit, though, as you said. It gets him right on the calf. And you see, he thought it was going straight up in the air, and it ricocheted over toward first base. Not that he could have done anything about it. So Carrera gets a base hit. So they get back-to-back hits here in the 8th, and that's going to do it for McAllister.
And I believe it's Scott Atchison who's getting the call as McAllister departs. We'll let you know when we come back. On top in the 8th inning, though, the Blue Jays have 2 on, 1 out, and the dangerous top of the order. So on comes Scott Atchison, making his 11th appearance of the year. And he's got Devin Travis at the plate. McAllister went an inning and a third, and he's removed after back-to-back singles. Atchison, a strike thrower, gets ahead 0-1. Travis hit the grand slam that capped the Blue Jays' 6-run 4th inning. And even though it was only the 4th inning, it just had the feel of, oh, it's going to be one of those days. It was 6-1 Toronto.
Yeah, it looked like it.
The 0-2 fouled back. But instead, the Indians have put up zeros from a pitching staff point of view since the grand slam by Travis. And the offense has erupted for 8 unanswered. Actually, 9 unanswered. It was 6-1. One-two pitch. Swing and a miss. He got him. Atchison with his huge strikeout here in the 8th inning, facing the dangerous Travis.
Gets him with a big breaking ball here. Looked like a curveball, Matt, where he gets him to swing over the top, coming straight down. Has him a little bit out in front. So, the big strikeout, out number 2.
Yeah, his 7th strikeout in 9 1/3 innings of work this year. Josh Donaldson, 0 for 2. He has walked twice. And he swings at the first pitch and fouls it away. little bit outside. 2 on, 2 out. And a 1-ball, 1-strike count for Josh Donaldson. Atchison pitches up high. Now it's 2-1 for Donaldson. To center field. Bourne is there, and he'll make the catch. Blue Jays get 2 hits, but they leave them stranded. And we'll go to the bottom of the 8th, 10-6 Cleveland. Top of the order due for Cleveland. It will be Kipnis, Ramirez, and Brantley. And Scott Copeland, who worked a 1-2-3 7th, will stay on to pitch here in the 8th. Kipnis has been a difference maker here today. 3 for 4. 3 straight hits, including a homer, an RBI single, and another single and a run scored. He scored all 3 times he's been aboard. Takes 2 quick strikes. And he's got 4 straight hits in the ball game. Big turn, head down, going for second, head first dive with a double. As you like to say, doubles are made out of the box. And it looked like Kipnis, as soon as he hit it, head was down, he was thinking 2 all the way.
Why not? I mean, if it's not directly at an outfielder, keep hustling and get yourself. He's swinging the bat well now. That leadoff spot is fine for him. You can see where Saunders has to go get it, and he knows right there. Put your head down and keep going. Makes it easily. There he goes. Head first. That's double number 5 for the Indians today. For Kipnis, that's his 2nd.
Ramirez trying to drag bunt here. He'll get Kipnis over to third. And with 1 out, gives Brantley a chance to drive him in. In-game box score brought to you by your Hyundai dealers. And again, a day where everybody, for the most part, has been involved. Kipnis now 4 hits at the top. Ramirez had a big RBI hit earlier. Brantley's driven in a couple. Santana has walked, driven in a run, scored. Moss a couple of sac flies. Rayburn the big pinch hit, 2-run double. Infield in for Brantley, and he takes a strike. They intentionally walked Michael his last time up.
Top 3 guys in the lineup have scored 7 runs. Action happening.
Inside, 2-1. Boy, Minnesota laying it to Chicago. 11-2 Twins over the White Sox in the 4th. Two-one pitch, way outside, 3-1. Tigers shutting out Kansas City 6-0 there in the 7th. How about Houston? They're winning again, beating Seattle 6-2, 7th inning. Astros trying to run their win streak to 10 in a row. Wonder if Brantley gets anything to hit here. Martin's going to go out for a chat first. This is one of those ones. I mean, really, do you need to talk about this? Guy's hitting everything in sight. Just put him on.
I think Martin's trying to relay. I don't know what the pitcher's going to tell him. He knows how he wants to go about it. Either make the perfect pitch, I guess, or you're going to walk him. He fell behind in the count trying to be a little too fine. He jumped ahead with 1 strike, and then it's been 3 straight balls.
And that's ball 4. So Michael is aboard. Time for our Pat O'Brien play of the game. Let's go back to the 5th inning. Ryan Rayburn off the bench, pinch hit. First pitch he sees down the line into the left field corner to drive in a pair and give the Indians the lead at 8-6. Carlos Santana singled his first time up on a bunt, singled in the 4th, walked and scored in the 5th, walked with the bases loaded to drive in a run in the 6th. So he's been on safely all 4 times today. This game didn't start out that well for Carlos, though. And a base running mental error and a defensive mental miscue. But he's been able to put it behind him. As the Indians have come back from a 6-1 deficit to score 9 unanswered runs to this point. Outside 3-0.
He doesn't even want to throw a strike. You talk about nibbling now. He's going to get himself into big trouble.
And it's ball 4. The bases are loaded. That's not what he wanted to do, because now he's got to face the left-handed hitting Brandon Moss with the bases juiced and only 1 out.
And pretty much 8 straight balls, because he started Brantley out with a strike, and then four in a row to him, and then 4 to Santana. And now there's no room for error, and you've got to come in here. And I think Martin's saying, come on, let's go. You got to throw a strike, but you watch, Moss will be waiting for that first one.
He's driven in a run with a sac fly in the 4th and a sac fly in the 6th. And it's up high, ball 1. Infield is in for Toronto. Borderline, too high, 2-0.
Yeah, you're all over the place. You don't get calls that are close.
You Moss, you keyhole here, or are you still taking?
No, I would say just look for one right down the middle. Yeah, you could shrink that strike zone. Just look for something he can hit into the seats. Why not? You work for these counts. Just don't help him out.
Right back to him. He goes home for one. Martin goes to first. Double play ends the inning. We go to the ninth. 10-6 Cleveland. Let's take a look back at our keys to the game, brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Trevor Bauer had his struggles today. Started out first 3 innings scoreless, but worked out of a bases loaded jam in the third. Could not get out of a bases loaded mess in the fourth. But offensively, the Indians' top of the order has been outstanding today. As you said, Rick, plenty of traffic. And the top 3 guys have scored 7 in a row.
You know, some energy is happening at the top of the lineup. Boy, though, Kipnis got on. Ramirez had a good day. And, of course, Brantley's, you give him the opportunity. That's the table setters. You know, you set the table for the big boys and let them eat.
Cody Allen on to pitch the ninth, with the Indians up 10-6. Scott Atchison pitched 2/3 of a scoreless inning. Bullpen to this point has really saved the day. You know, you always talk about in baseball, if you get behind early, the only chance you have to come back, obviously you have to score runs, but the bullpen or whoever, they've got to put up zeros, and that's exactly what they've done for Terry Francona here today. Mark Zipchinski, a scoreless inning. Brian Shaw, 2/3 scoreless. Zach McAllister, an inning and a third scoreless. Scott Atchison, 2/3 scoreless. And combined, only 2 hits allowed. Bautista pops it straight up on the infield. Santana calls everybody off. Makes the catch, 1 away. Stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. It's coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio with Al and Jensen down at the corner. Edwin Encarnacion, 1 for 3 with a single. That's lifted, foul, and out of play. Wanted to send out a special hello to a great Indians fan who came a long way to cheer on the Tribe this weekend. Johnny Hornsby from New Orleans, Louisiana. He's a regular at Fantasy Camp. He's a favorite fan. He goes with his brother-in-law, Cody.
Nice.
Westmoreland.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And he got to see the new Bob Feller, a little sneak peek of the Bob Feller exhibit that we're going to unveil in the next homestand.
Welcome to Cleveland. Caught a pretty good weekend, too, didn't he?
Yeah, weather-wise, not too shabby. Let's everybody hope, knock on some wood, that spring is finally here. Put the warm weather stuff away. Pack up the gloves and hats. The 0-2. Swing and a miss, and Encarnacion strikes out. And there are 2 down in the ninth.
Can't hold up on the old curveball. Here comes Cody Allen. Good pitch out of the zone. He will chase it down to the final out.
Upstairs, ball 1. Popped up foul, out of play. One pitch. High drive, deep left field. Brantley's going to watch this one head to the bleachers halfway up. Boy, that was a blast from Russell Martin. His 5th home run on the year. And it's now a 10-7 ball game with 2 outs in the 9th inning.
Yeah, he can hit a fastball. There it is, and it goes a long way. He knew he got it. So did Cody. So Martin makes it a 10-7 ball game. That's going to be his 5th home run.
Kevin Pillar, 0 for 3 today. Checks on a ball up high. Hit foul. Off day for the Tribe tomorrow. They'll open up a 3-game series at Kansas City Tuesday night. Swung out and missed. And the Indians now 1 strike away. 16,128 the attendance here this afternoon. The 1-2. Swing and a miss. He struck him out and the game is over. The Indians come back to split the 4-game series with Toronto with their most impressive come-from-behind win of the year. They trailed it 6-1 before they reeled off 9 consecutive runs, and they hold off Toronto by a final of 10-7. Mark Zipchinski gets the win. He's 1-0. Jeff Francis the loss. He drops to 1-1. The Indians will leave town with a record of 9-15. And the Blue Jays will head back to Toronto with a mark of 12-14. Story today, though, the Indians offense. They came back, and they came back big time with a big inning and then an add-on couple of runs later in the ball game as well. And other than the solo homer with 2 outs in the ninth, the bullpen was outstanding for the Tribe today.
And as we said, the thing you have to do when you give up a big run in the middle part of the ball game is zeros the rest of the way. For the most part, they did. They gave their offense a chance. The offense responded. It was fun today because these guys, they hit the ball all over the ballpark. And really good afternoon. And that's something they needed. They got an enjoyable off day tomorrow. 13 hits today before they head into Kansas City and play 3 more in the Central Division.
All right, we'll be back with some final thoughts right after this.